my layperson feeling is that, okay, NTUC Income is always kind of like, okay, they might not have the best product or the best offering or the best prices, but you kind of know that, okay, like they will be there lah, and
They got your back.
They got your back.
Because they're social enterprise with a social mission, right?
Yeah. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terrence?
Good old humor.
Good old humor, man.
Yeah.
Wow. How's the week, man? It's midweek episode.
Quite riveting. I think all the stuff going on in the US is quite riveting. You know, the Kamala Harris. I mean, obviously the Secret Service also, the chief of the Secret Service stepping down and all this.
Yeah.
Feels like a big soap opera going on right now.
Yeah, exactly. But you're keeping full track.
I think it's a lot of historic things are happening around us as we speak. And as anybody knows, these things don't always happen, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting to be part of these times and reading the news about it and just processing it and all that. Right?
And I mean, it's in some way it's like watching a TV show.
It is. Yeah.
Right. Every day is like a new episode or some new twist.
Yeah.
Because the latest is like, the head of the Secret Service has stepped down, right? Kamala Harris has gone from non-presidential candidate to like, raised like 250 million.
No, not so much, but the most ever in 24 hours.
Ever.
Yeah.
And she's really on the campaign trail.
Yeah. She's really 100% all in already. And now it's just waiting for everyone else to fall in line. Like the Obamas.
But we're going to be taking a break from US politics today because we got some local news to talk about.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything like our regular spiel?
If you're new to this podcast, please like, share, follow, subscribe, do all the things that you need to do to train the AI algorithm to tell them that Yalabat is awesome.
Yeah. Remember, train the AI algorithm. Don't let the AI control you, man.
Don't let it control you.
Don't let it control you. And if you want to work with us, you can send us a message at ministryoffunny.com, our website. We have a little box there. You can send us a message and we will always reply.
Yeah.
Sweet, man. All right. So the first one.
Wow, this topic,
a bit complicated,
Tough one. But I think at its core, it strikes at the very core of a lot of people's understanding of fairness in Singapore, right?
Yeah. And I mean, at first, I wasn't the keenest to talk about this because it didn't seem that enticing. But the more I read, the more I like, there's something primal there.
Yeah.
And it is the news that German insurance company, Allianz, which I thought was French, but Allianz has...
That's why you got to pronounce it without that French twang.
Alliance.
It's just Allianz, you know?
Alliance.
When you go Allianz, it's very French. Allianz Française.
Allianz. How do you spell that, Allianz?
Allianz, yeah.
Like this, lah.
But this Allianz, you know, the big Z.
Fucking confusing. Alliance, okay, if we will just refer to them as Alliance.
Yeah.
Has plans to buy a majority stake in Income Insurance, which is the insurance arm of the whole NTUC group. And they want to buy a controlling stake, which means it's 51% for a reported $1.6 billion, I think.
Yeah.
In a 2.2 billion Singapore dollars, 1.6 billion US dollars cash deal. So the offer is conditional on Allianz getting at least 51% of income.
Yeah.
And I mean, right now there's a lot of people. I think about a month ago, it already came out in the news that they were talking about these plans. And based on the articles that are out there right now, it's expected to close in the fourth quarter of 2024 or the first quarter of 2025.
Yeah.
So there'll still be things happening before it does close, if it does close.
But my understanding is that it's already been approved already, right? As in by NTUC. NTUC itself.
Yeah, and I think, has it been approved by MAS?
No, that's why it's now going through regulatory approval. That's the only thing that could stop it now, right?
Correct.
Because at the end of the day, NTUC is what? Majority owner, 70% of income, NTUC income.
Yeah.
So if NTUC says okay, then that's pretty much it already.
Yeah, so there's now MAS approval that's pending. Income did say that their directors will appoint an independent financial advisor to advise them. Well, like, financial advisor, people go for insurance. Now the insurance company got their own financial advisor. It's probably a company.
It's a bank,
not an individual.
it's an investment bank.
Yeah,
that's what I used to do in my job. Like, you be a financial advisor for mergers and acquisitions.
So you used to be financial advisor, Terrence?
No, as in what you provide is advisory services.
I know. I was just making a joke, thing.
I just trying to be very technical about it. So
I know you work in finance, okay? I know.
No, but I think it's worth discussing because people think that because you work in finance, you know stock markets, you know insurance. I know jack shit about insurance, right? But I know like corporate finance, mergers and acquisitions, the bit of the numbers behind it and all that. So it's a bit different when they say intimate, like financial advisors, they're not hiring an insurance agent to help them look at this. They're hiring a investment bank to give advisory services on whether a mergers and acquisitions deal is worth the time for the company, worth the time and money.
No need to make me feel that stupid.
Oh, no. Not you, but I think in general, there's still a lot of people still come to me, hey, last time you do finance, right? You know how to invest, I really don't know a lot of that stuff. I know how to look at a company's balance sheet and stuff like that, but I don't know how to look at stock markets. I don't know anything about cryptocurrency. I don't know anything about insurance that much.
I see.
Yeah.
But basically, if we need to talk about that process of a company evaluating NTUC Income, you'll be the person. You'll be the SME in the house.
Yeah, and SME not meaning small medium enterprise. SME subject matter expert. No. But yeah, I have a bit of thoughts about it.
A bit of thoughts. Okay, so there will be that process, and then it will also be I think the decision will be put forth towards the shareholders. 72.8% of whom are this NTUC enterprise, and the rest are minority shareholders. So I mean, it's not confirmed yet, but it feels like the wheels are in motion, and a few prominent individuals have come out to speak out against it. Like I think most recent is Tommy Koh, what's his ambassador at large. He said that he is against the idea and he wishes to argue that income and fair price should never be sold. Then other people like Tan Swee Chie, who was a previous CEO of NTUC Income.
After Tan Kin Lian.
And then, I think an economist, Lam Kyong Yo.
Ex-GIC economist.
All have come out against it. So, I mean, initially I was thinking, wow, is this going to be that interesting? But as the more you read about it, what stood out? You mentioned that, there's something at the core of everyone's minds.
I think there's something very primal because everyone grew up knowing of NTUC Income as a co-op, right? A co-op meaning that it's owned by its members and it's with a very social aim of the it's not just a capitalist business. It's a very social aim, and one was to provide insurance for low-income Singaporeans, right? So I think the reaction that we're starting to see, based off these reactions by Tommy Koh and all these other prominent economists and individuals involved with NTUC, is that people have a very primal connection to what NTUC meant for early Singapore, right? NTUC Income, NTUC Fair Price, and all these things. So to see it now being corporatized and then being sold off to the highest bidder, a foreign highest bidder, I think people are starting to paint it like, we're carving up our local assets and selling them off to foreigners.
Yeah. And I mean, I think a few things to note, like Allianz, I think they are the biggest insurance provider in the world. I think their profits from last year was 14.7 billion. They are the 9th biggest in Asia. And if this goes through, they will immediately leapfrog to become the 4th biggest in Asia. And the CEO is very public about saying that, we want to build a sustainably profitable business and all that, which every business should aim to do, right? Of course, for social enterprises, the broad definition is that you have financial sustainability, but you also have social impact. But like looking at this also, and I mean, full disclosure, like I have an insurance policy from Allianz, partly because of an existing precondition that was rejected by everyone else. So I had to take initially was with Aetna, which then got bought over by Allianz.
Yeah.
So I think they are on this march to, consolidate and acquire a bunch of different things just to continue to gain market share.
Yeah.
So that is their path. Whereas NTUC, the more you read about it, do you realize, okay, it was corporatized in 2022. And I mean, just to give some backstory, if you indulge me for a bit, because I think it's important to understand the beginnings of NTUC.
Yeah.
So NTUC, the National Trades Union Congress, was actually formed in 1961. When the PAP, there was a split, and there was another union that was formed by they were pro-Barisan Socialists, and they were SATU, which is the Singapore Association of Trade Unions. But after
what a great acronym,
SATU, yeah, which is one line in Malay. But in 1963, the government rejected SATU's application, and then it was considered illegal. So then it was just NTUC as the main congress. So the goal was to basically be the representative for the layperson, the labor movement. And since then, they were, focused on negotiating agreements and fighting cases in the International Arbitration Court for Singaporeans.
Yep.
And this was when the British was there. So and they were always championing like the industrial, the manual laborer and laborers in general. 1970 was when NTUC formed a bunch of cooperatives, cooperatives, which I think just broadly, it just means that a lot of the members also hold like a stake, and it is a lot more, like communal rather than just a corporate where you have a small number of owners.
Yeah.
So there was NTUC Income, then there was Comfort, which I didn't know was launched by NTUC Income, NTUC, and then there was NTUC Welcome, which was the first supermarket, the co-op supermarket, which is now NTUC FairPrice. And basically, it is stated that they launched NTUC Welcome in July 1973 in order to combat rampant profiteering by selling essential commodities at low prices. Which feels like that's the base mantra for NTUC all the way.
Yeah.
And that's what we grew up with. Then in 2022, the NTUC Income was corporatized. And the reasons was because it can access more capital.
Yeah.
I think even the shareholders, if you want to sell your shares, you can enjoy the shares at market value as opposed to like the $10 cap that cooperative instills. And then just the hierarchy and all that, it all pointed to, okay, if you want to grow NTUC Income, it needs to be corporatized. And they were consistent saying it is not going to change anything. It's not going to change our social mission. The 100 million we have dedicated over the next 10 years for causes like environmental sustainability, youth empowerment will continue. Then suddenly this thing comes and there's this foreign entity that wants to take 51% ownership.
Yep.
And for context, right now, NTUC Income, 72.8% is owned by NTUC Enterprise. And NTUC Enterprise is the arm under which NTUC FairPrice, NTUC Health, NTUC First Campus, Kopitiam, the food court, all sit under.
Yeah.
So it means their shareholding is going to be downsized as well as the minority shareholders. So, I mean, like understanding that context, I think, it gives you an idea of the general ethos of NTUC.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, like when you were thinking about this, like how were you thinking through whether or not it's a good thing? Because I mean, after all, we're just lay people, right?
Yeah. I mean, one thing that immediately struck me was how far along the process is. And that is a little bit surprising to me. Because I think like many lay people, my understanding of NTUC Income is that it is a social enterprise, right? And a move like this where, a foreign entity takes a major controlling stake, I thought it would be something that would be quite hotly debated and all like way in advance before even submitting this whole thing to the regulatory body already. Because for sure, just my understanding of all this big corporate M&A stuff is that these things are in the works for months, if not at least like a year or something, right? And there's a lot of number crunching that goes on behind the scenes and a lot of due diligence, meaning like research into the company's fundamentals and all that from professionals that goes on behind the scenes before the companies make an offer, right?
Yeah.
So these things have been on the radar, under discussion for a long time already. And only now it's sort of coming to the mainstream consciousness where we're starting to see, prominent individuals speak about it, and also realizing it's already past that stage of like even stopping it in its tracks, right? It's already out there for regulatory approval, and subject to shareholder. I think shareholder. Not even shareholder approval, because NTUC has a controlling stake in it. So it's already been approved internally already, right?
Yeah.
Did this surprise you that it's already so far along, this whole process?
I mean, yeah, because even on the press release site, I think the earliest was like about a month ago, and that was for NTUC Income.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe when I first read the headline, I was thinking, oh, how big an issue is this going to be? But the more I read, the more I kind of was made aware of the mission of what NTUC Income stands for. Then I look at the timeline, I'm like, hey, actually, it feels a bit fast.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, okay, but then it comes down to, I know people like, Calvin Cheng, hardcore capitalist. He posted something saying that, like a lot of social enterprises are already not the most well-run.
Yeah.
If a social enterprise can be financially sustainable, it bodes well for like everyone. I'm paraphrasing. So then I'm thinking, wait, is it a bad thing? I mean, Allianz is still an insurance provider.
Yeah.
Shouldn't they want to provide the best possible insurance to as many people as possible? So then I'm like, okay, but it has moved along fast. It feels like it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I know some of the people who posted like Tommy Koh and all, they're saying, or the ex-CEO saying that, now if there's a public outcry, things can change. So yeah, so I mean, to a short answer to your question, it feels a bit fast.
Yeah. But I mean, to what you said, what Kelvin Cheng said, I think one argument for, pushing through this sale is also, it kind of, it's basically inviting Allianz to set up a big HQ here, right? Because if they have a big stake in, what is essentially one of the biggest players here, right? Then, it makes sense for them to base their operations in Asia out of here and all that, right? So in some ways, it's attracting foreign investment into Singapore, maybe creating more jobs, possibly economies of scale, right? A bigger enterprise. Plus also, with being such a big company, it can weather the storms of like economic downturns more readily, right? So there seem to be on paper some economic benefits to it. So why are you being such a bleeding heart liberal and going against capitalism?
Yeah, especially when you think about all the HBO movies that have been made in Singapore with HBO Asia's office here.
Yes.
The Netflix movies that have been made, with Netflix Apex situated here. Amazon Prime, up until a few months ago, they were situated. All the wonderful Singapore Amazon movies
but
that
the
came
jobs,
out.
Harish, the jobs they create.
Facebook, Meta, you really feel the impact of Meta and Google and all having their HQs here in Singapore. Yeah. Thanks for changing my mind, Terence. Even Maker Studios, that was a multi-channel network that we signed for, that established their office here. A few years later, evaporated. Hook.
Yeah.
Okay,
we get it. Okay. So, in summary, you're against like foreign investment in Singapore,
Hey, fuck you. What kind of statement is that? I just feel like this one. Like there's this feeling, okay, because insurance, right? Anyone who has to deal with their own insurance and all, you realize that it's expensive.
Yeah.
It adds up, right?
Yeah.
And like it's really so damn hard to understand. But my lay person feeling is that NTUC Income is always kind of like, they might not have the best product or the best offering or the best prices, but you kind of know that they will be there and
they got your back.
They got your back
because they're social enterprise with a social mission, right?
Yeah, and I think the one of the Facebook posts, the ex-CEO shared like some screenshots, I think from their slide deck or something.
Yeah.
And basically their number one policy is that people before profits. I don't know how old that slide is, but it always felt they got your back.
Yeah.
Even like sometimes like travel and like when I'm looking for the best travel insurance deal, and I can't find it, I go to NTUC Income and I've not heard the best things about NTUC Income, but it provides some base. And I think that sentiment is a very strong and powerful sentiment, especially if all these other private insurance companies are increasing their prices, right? I feel like NTUC Income is the one like pillar that, feels like they will have our back.
Yeah.
And kind of like, otherwise if everybody keeps increasing, that's not good. So I don't know, is it just an emotional feeling? That I'm like, hey shit, then if 51% is owned by this foreign company, that to them Singapore is probably like, would they even really want to listen to Singaporeans about or be that way? I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like you, just based off that sentiment and what we were discussing earlier, I think I'm quite surprised that the authorities did not realize how much egg could land on their faces with this kind of emotive event, right? Where, a Singapore brand name, right? NTUC Income and all, being sold off to a foreign entity and a controlling stake at that, right?
Yeah.
I would have felt, even if there are a lot of benefits to this, it would have been communicated earlier and maybe more clearly to people. Because right now, I think people are just coming in with their own theories of why this is good for Singapore, why it's bad for Singapore and all that.
Yeah.
And there's just not a lot of messaging about, even what the authorities' official line is, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm quite surprised that when we said that we feel that the timeline is very rushed, it just means that we only found out about it very late in the process. So that definitely there's been a heads up, at least amongst the powers that be, that this was going to happen, right? And they had that time to sort of build up towards that.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of surprised that there's this, seems like be like this mad scramble to try and talk about this issue or justify this issue now. Mad scramble meaning between like individuals like Kelvin Cheng
and us,
and this Tommy Koh and all that, and us, right? I'm surprised that we're at this stage where there's not that much official information about this whole thing, and everything we're gleaning is from news articles and from Kelvin Cheng and all that, right?
Yeah. No, and then it makes you look back, because of what you said, there's not much info. Then it makes you look back at the corporatization in 2022.
Yeah.
You look at their press statement, it was always about, this is going to help us expand our footprint locally and regionally. It's going to allow us to give you more offerings and going to do this. We're going to stick to our social mission. We're going to commit to 100 million and all that. But then it makes you think, oh shit. I assume these processes, like what you say, they're not fast, right?
Yeah.
So then, was the corporatization set up with plans to eventually, sell off a controlling stake? Then it makes you think, oh fuck. Of course, we will never know because it's speculative, but it just makes you question, lah. And I mean,
but the corporatization happened 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
2 years ago, you were not even married yet. And now you are going to be a dad and everything.
So things can change,
Things can change, right, Harish? So why are you being
No, that's what I'm saying, speculative.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying it's speculative. I don't know.
Why are you just being another bleeding heart liberal?
Yeah, I don't know.
You expect things to just forever be the same. Yeah.
Yeah, almost always. I hate change, man. I hate change.
No, but I mean, the truth is, M&A stuff doesn't happen overnight like that. It takes months, like I said, if not even a year or years.
And this is your own experience.
This is my own experience as an analyst, as one of these independent financial advisory kind of investment banks.
Yeah.
These things that don't happen overnight. So they're definitely in discussions. Do you even hire CEOs who specialize in, packaging a company for sale? That's my experience.
Yeah.
That's the level to which M&A operates at in large corporations.
Yeah. And I mean, even if you, because, okay, so one example, where when I was trying to find out whether NTUC Income is still, seen as a social enterprise, I mean, it has a corporate structure.
Yeah.
They say they have a social mission. Singapore, there is an organization that works with social enterprises.
Yeah.
Because we have even met them. There is a structure that defines you as a social enterprise, and NTUC isn't, but they say they have a strong social mission. And I think they have been granted, the faith of the people because they've been there for a long time and they started with a very strong social mission. But when I see people commenting, this is in the best interest of it remaining private for the good of the company. But if you think about it, you look, right, when they were corporatized, they pledged 100 million over 10 years to support various social causes in Singapore. And when a company is bought out, I would imagine when this 10 years ends, right, do you think a company that is 51% owned by another company from another country would pledge these sort of amounts to social causes in Singapore?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Of
course, again, that's speculative. But when NTUC does these kind of things, it feels like, okay, they are really focused on Singapore. I don't know how this compares to other local brands that have been sold off. Of course, ComfortDelGro is also now a private company.
Yeah.
I didn't even know they started off with a social mission. Comfort started, then Delgro started as a private company, then they merged, and then they went down a private path. I know even Singlife bought Aviva, and then there's another company that bought Singlife or something. But they all did, Singlife and Aviva didn't start off with that same social mission as NTUC.
Correct.
So it just feels like, hey, fuck, the more we talk about it, the more it's like, this sounds like a not a good thing.
Yeah. And I think one thing to note also is before you listen to people, like Kelvin Ching, for example, lecture you about economics 101, about, economies of scale and things like that. Just, there's also a reason why people also maybe feel a bit anxious about even public-private partnerships, right? SMRT obviously being one example from long ago in the past. But even in more recent times, remember the Sports Hub, right?
Yeah.
Sports Hub, how, when it was launched and everything as a public, as a private enterprise, with a public oversight, right? And then over the years, we've seen like the government take it back, essentially. And kind of now it's Kallang Alive Sports Management that's taking care of it. And then suddenly it's become a lot more vibrant than what it was under that public-private partnership model, right?
Yeah.
So people's recent experiences of these public-private partnerships hasn't been the best. And that might be the reason why some of the people are also feeling a bit anxious about this, the idea of selling NTUC Income to a private entity that's focused on making profits.
Yeah. Because and I mean, like, even if you look at the global stage, I mean, now microfinance is not a big thing. But for in 2010, 2013, microfinance was like the shit.
Yeah.
And for people who might not be aware, microfinance was this thing developed by a Bangladeshi economist, Muhammad Yunus, who found that in communities, like especially rural communities, by giving out loans in groups and like even micro loans, like $150 to a farmer in rural Bangladesh, it can really be life-changing because it allows them to invest in things that could earn them income, like buying a cow. So that took off, and I was fucking interested in it. And like I was doing a lot of like research in it, participating in projects, and it sounded like, wow, this is making money while saving the world. This is amazing. But you fast forward years later, right? Even Muhammad Yunus himself has come out and been very critical about microfinance because all these MFIs, these microfinance institutions that started off with this social mission, ended up becoming so profit driven, right?
Yeah.
That it raised the interest rates. There was an epidemic of the loan people who took the loans, like suicide increasing in them a lot because they would just take loans from another microfinance institution and it was a bubble. So it just feels like in this case, like, wow, it's hard to ever think that NTUC Income has our back after this. Maybe it's just an emotional thing.
Wait, I thought, but aren't you, but what you're saying is that social enterprises are generally more inefficient also.
I mean, I think like it depends what you mean by efficiency. Like if you're really basing it on the financial bottom line, then you could argue that it's not devoting all its resources to making profit But it also has to balance that social mission. And what I was getting at is that it's very difficult to balance that. And what allows that to be balanced is a very strong mission statement that holds everything in place But the moment the people in power are not the most clued in on the social side of things, I think that's a very fragile thing.
Yeah, and I mean, if you just Google like NTUC Income parliamentary questions, the last time when there was a parliament sitting in 2022 asking, and there was a question by Liang Enghua, the MP, asking about NTUC Income's decision to convert itself to a corporate entity will have had any impact on the affordability of insurance premiums and whether workers will continue to have access to affordable insurance. Mr. Tharman Shanmugaratnam, as the senior minister in charge of MAS, answered that one of his things was NTUC Income becoming a corporate entity should therefore not have an impact on the affordability of insurance products because the insurance market today is very highly competitive. No single insurer dominates in terms of providing the most affordable or innovative insurance products. And the best way to have affordable prices and wide choice of products is to ensure a vibrant and competitive industry.
Yeah.
So MAS will continue to promote this. So Mr. Tharman, our president, now president himself, basically said up front that, NTUC Income will continue, becoming corporate will not have an impact on the affordability of insurance.
But they want going from Singaporean cooperative to Singaporean corporate.
Yeah.
Still feels a bit different. It's like, let's say Yalabat, right? Let's say it's owned by our fans and us. Then we're like, okay, at some point we're like, okay, you all just calm down. We are going to privatize it because it allows us to raise funding and all that. Then suddenly we say, hey, there's this German dude who's going to buy 51% of Yalabat, who believes in the mission, who commits to, releasing 3 episodes a week for the next 1 year, 2 years, 10 years. But feels like, there's a bit of uncertainty like what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, but
I also think the fact that Mr. Tharman himself was the one who answered this question is quite interesting, because the last time when I don't even, I mean, it's out there in the public, right? But Ong Teng Cheong, the late president of Singapore, he butted heads against the government back in the late 90s because he wanted more information about the merger between POSB and DBS, right? Because he saw POSB as the people's bank, as like if the president's job is to guard the reserves, then the people's reserves, the people's bank accounts are part of those reserves. So he wanted more information about that merger between Postbank and DBS and didn't want it to just be passed so quickly, right? As just another corporate merger. So I don't know if this is within the president's purview, right? In terms of people's insurance policies as part of, thinking about Singapore's reserves and things like that. So yeah, I mean, it's just an interesting nugget that that was one of the big I would say conflicts right, between Ong Teng Cheong and the government at that time. And then that's people remember him for that also.
Yeah. But I think let's spare a moment for the CEO of DBS having his pay cut, from 13 to 11 million.
Yeah,
I think just a few seconds of silence.
Affecting his work-life balance.
Yeah, that's for him it's baloney, okay? It's baloney. Work-life balance is baloney to him.
He doesn't believe in work-life balance.
It's baloney to him, bro. Yeah. But so I hope this comes up in Parliament because, it's one of those things that, I mean, of course, the bleeding heart liberal in me, there's that chip on the shoulder of like this other big entity that, which promised so much in Southeast Asia by the name of like Hook, the name which we shall not mention often, that promised so much to us, to the film industry in Singapore, that just came and evaporated. Of course, that is just a forever chip on my shoulder. But this one just feels like, oh shit, there's a bunch of uncertainty here. There's not the most transparent info. But
also to be clear, we're not saying that just having foreign insurers is bad. Like I think full disclosure, we have worked with even FWD before on our podcast and all, right? And even just out of my own accord, I actually buy travel insurance from FWD because I find it the most competitive, and in terms of the interface and everything, it's the clearest to me. So it's not a sponsor or anything, but I usually just look to FWD for my travel insurance. And maybe because they are a newer player in the market, they offer things that other players don't offer, right? So we're not saying that foreign competition is a bad thing, right? But we're saying that when you're selling off like a local competitor to a foreign entity, then I think there's a lot more elements to think about.
And a competitor that has a lot of earned goodwill and faith. And I mean, one thing also, like, if they do sell it off, apparently for the minority shareholders who also comprise a lot of individuals, they can actually liquidate their shares and earn a decent amount, more so than they could if NTUC Income remain as like a cooperative or even as a corporate. Because there'll be a cash payout for this. So even the shareholders, they might be down with it. But yeah, that earned goodwill, a few months ago, I went to NTUC Denticare. Have you been to NTUC Denticare?
No.
Because I was like, okay, I want to do my dentist thing. The polyclinic was taking damn long. And I was like, hey, NTUC Denticare, price should be, it's NTUC. I got fucking fleeced.
I was hoping for a happy ending.
No, I got fleeced. And I mean, the doctor was like, okay, you're coming for a check. He's like, I think your teeth should be polished. I was like, okay, how much will that cost? And I think he said, okay, this is, we do it really, it's about $60. And I was like, okay, can. I mean, my teeth fucking open and all. Then he upsold me a few things. In the end, the bill came out at $270.
He upsold you while your mouth was open while you're sitting on the chair. Is it? How did it work? Beforehand or what?
No.
Oh, is it during? Wow, that's quite a...
So, at the end, I mean, I also didn't want to be like, how much is that? How much is this? How much is that? Then in my mind, after that...
if he's got a fucking needle at your mouth, you also wouldn't dare to say no, right?
Exactly. And then he was telling me, your teeth, right now, okay, it's generally good, but there's one thing, if I curb it in the... Then I was like, okay, fine, fuck it. Then it came to 270. Then I realized, hey, shit, NTUC Denticare kind of operates like a private clinic. But because the NTUC brand was there, there was inbuilt trust and faith in it. So in this case, if NTUC Income is going to be sold, then maybe change the name. Because you represent something different already.
But I think that's a lot of what people are saying, right? That built off that brand of people, Singaporeans, average Singaporeans understanding NTUC is looking out for them. That's the brand that you build up over the decades, and that's what people put their money with you, right?
Yeah.
You know, or they buy your insurance policies. And then now that you've built up that base rate, you just sell it off to someone who's very clearly just looking for profit, right?
Yeah. And I mean, NTUC Income, they still have good policies. Like recently for my mom also, my family has been looking at it. And for older folk, they have good policies. But that's where it reinforces, you know, they got our back. But now it is, I don't know, man. Allianz. Allianz. So come on, man. Parliament.
Yeah.
Do your thing.
I think it'd be quite interesting to hear the questions asked.
Yeah.
And the answers, considering that our finance minister is also our prime minister, our newly anointed prime minister as well. Yeah.
But yeah, man.
But yeah, you know, one tricky situation to another that is quite unfortunate. And but this one is really a domestic affair, I find, although it's reached an international scale in terms of us all reading about it. But it really has to do with like the internal domestic, I wouldn't say squabbles, but the internal domestic protocols, right, of a certain Olympic team that is now already in Paris, but without one particular member of the squad there. And we're not talking about Singapore, right?
Yeah.
This is another country.
Yeah.
What is this topic?
It is the news that Shoko Miyata, who is the captain, or who was the captain of the Japanese women's gymnastic team, has withdrawn from the games because apparently she broke the team's code of conduct by smoking and drinking alcohol. I mean, the legal and age for drinking and smoking in Japan is 20.
Yeah.
But apparently the Japanese Gymnastics Association, the JGA, they prohibit gymnasts from doing any of those regardless of age. And for context, Miyata is 19.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's a pretty prolific athlete. I think earlier this year, she just won everything at the local meet in Japan that allowed her to qualify.
Yeah.
But
and she had an outside chance for a medal at the Olympics.
Yeah, because she won a bronze in the 2022 World Artistic Gymnastics Championship. Yeah, and it was the first Olympics. She was due to captain the team. But yeah. So what made you want to talk about this, Terence?
I think it's interesting. In the last month in Singapore, we've had our own little saga about how athletes are denied chances to go to the Olympics, right, for various reasons. Administrative or at least just rules, the regulations, right, that prevent them from going there. In this case, this gymnast has broken a rule set by her own organization, right? But some people are saying that a bit harsh, right? You know, are you also shooting yourself in the foot by taking your best shot at a medal for the Japanese women's gymnastics team for something as innocuous as like a little drinking a bit of alcohol in a private residence, and also like the athletes' village, in another instance.
Yeah,
a little bit of
both happened in Japan, right?
Yeah, in Japan. So yeah, I don't know. Like some people are saying that a bit harsh, right? And then like this kind of like shows how Japanese society really is like really repressive, Yeah.
Oh, she deleted all her social media accounts also.
So yeah, what do you think about it, man?
Wow. I mean, okay, like just also being fully aware that this is the rules and code of conduct of another country. This one feels sad, But then I was thinking, right, like let's say, Joseph Schooling had that whole kerfuffle with like marijuana, right?
Yeah.
That happened after the games.
After
the games, but he was in Vietnam or something, right?
Yeah,
so what was his punishment?
I think he was suspended for a while, right?
Suspended, but he didn't. Yeah, he was suspended for a while.
Yeah,
and also because I think he came forward to turn himself in,
Yeah.
Oh, this one, I mean, it's harsh, but then it's like I don't know, like it's harsh. It's sad, It's sad.
But you think it's not too harsh? You think it's deserved,
I mean, like if you have a team, kind of like and especially as the captain, if there's this team code of conduct, right?
Yeah.
And I know what you're going to say. I'm going to say, hey, Harish, you always follow the rules. You PAP supporter and all. But to me, it's confirm. I know that's what in your mind. I know. So before I say this, I already know that you're going to say that. But if there's an established code of conduct that everyone kind of agrees on, and you flout it, wow, then like...
So... I mean, actually, that was not what I was going to say about you being a rule follower by the book, black and white person, which you are, but okay, separate.
Hey, I'm a lot more grey now, okay?
No, but okay, code of conduct for athletes. We've had So Ryong on this podcast multiple times before. They say that he flouted the code of conduct of athletes, right? Or expectations of athletes in Singapore. So he's removed from the Asian Games. Why that one you so gleefully let him go on and talk about it? Then this one you're like, well, you already flouted the rules.
Okay, the code of conduct that Ryong apparently flouted. What was the code of conduct? Proper behavior.
Unbecoming of an athlete.
Yeah, so that is very subjective. If they were saying you cannot say fuck, and then you go and say fuck on a podcast, then I'll be like, hey, this is an unfortunate rule that's there, okay?
Yeah.
You clearly flouted. His was just, it was very, very fluffy kind of like code of conduct. Then who decides what is the appropriate behavior and all that? Whereas this one is like, I mean, okay, let's say in Singapore, Singapore, the legal smoking and drinking age is 21 or something, right?
Drinking 18. Smoking 21.
18. So let's say someone who's 17 is drinking. And gets a fine. Would you say that's harsh?
No, he broke the rules.
He broke the rules. So in this case, if it is the Japanese Gymnastics Association's code of conduct that prevents them from doing like this, not like during any team activities, and not just below 20, which is the national legal age, regardless of age, then I feel like, this one hard to argue.
Yeah. And I would actually argue that because it's alcohol and cigarettes, which directly we know of its ill effects on a body, especially even an athlete's body and on your performance and all that as well. I think it's more harsh than, like you say, saying the F word on a podcast and things like that, right? It's harsh in the sense that it's literally detrimental to your body, right?
Yeah.
Whereas whatever So Ryong says, he still runs like a freaking rabbit, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter as much. But this smoking and drinking thing, because, someone who partakes in that, usually you don't partake in those activities alone, right?
Yeah.
You probably be telling people, hey, join me or things like that. So you could be a bad influence. I'm not saying she is, but, you could potentially be an influence on the rest of the team, right? When they see that, hey, how come you're allowed to do these things that are harmful to your body? Is it because you're more talented? That's why you get to do these things and I cannot do these things,
Yeah.
So it does affect, morale as well. So in some ways, I see this, it's harsh, but it's the rules, right? And she broke the rules.
Yeah. So you also like hardcore PAP supporter, follow rules. You don't jaywalk, is it? You don't jaywalk, Terence?
I know. Yeah. Unless only 51 meters away from traffic light, then you're allowed to, right? Yeah.
But I mean, first of all, like just now when you said Ryong runs like a rabbit, why rabbit? He doesn't strike me as someone who runs like a rabbit.
I mean, it's just the saying like the
gazelle,
the tortoise and the hare, right? The hare runs very fast, right?
Yeah, but the hare lost.
I mean, I mean, that one is the thing, but the hare runs fast. Yes, it lost competition, but it runs fast, right?
But hare also is short sprints, just stop.
I mean, but that to me is how like marathon running and his pace his pace of marathon running is like
we can cut out this clip and then like send it to him. Like, hey, Terence say you run like a rabbit.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
Well, I say you run like a gazelle.
It's a compliment.
Gazelle.
Gazelle also get eaten by lion, right? Every animal also got upsides and downsides.
But gazelle can run like for fucking like 1.5 hours at 90 kilometers an hour or something.
Yeah. Then one arrow comes and die already. Also no point, right? Yeah. Anyway.
Yes.
But yes. Sad lah. Because there's besides this Japanese gymnast, there are other things also that have like other events that have also had a lot of controversy. I think like there's a particular Dutch Olympian who apparently was convicted for sexual assault before, I believe.
Of a minor,
right? Minor, yeah. Who apparently is still in the team. And a lot of people calling out the Dutch sporting bodies for that. And then, there's there's a lot of other examples in recent history of like athletes, like American sprinters being kept from the US Olympic team in the last Olympic Games because of testing positive for marijuana, right?
Yeah.
And considering that marijuana is actually legal in some parts of the USA, even that was like, So a lot of debates about whether these punishments are too harsh on the athletes, on these people who essentially are very young. They're barely out of the teenage years,
Oh, but you're saying like, are you saying there's a spectrum of like offenses? Because like the Dutch child rapist, that one is like insane. Like.
Yeah, that one is crazy.
Yeah, he was jailed for 4 years.
Yeah. And now he's still competing,
He's
right?
still competing, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying is that it's like we talk about gray areas. It's like every different country, every different sporting organization, each country has their own gray areas, right?
Yeah.
And I think now we're seeing the gray area for the Japanese team, right? Singapore, our gray area was the administrative discussion, right, around who would represent Singapore.
What gray area? Oh, debatable.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one, unfortunately, it's one of those things that it's damn sad because you say she's in Paris already.
No. The Japanese team has arrived in Paris. So literally, they were addressing this issue as they stepped off the plane and stuff like that, as they got to the airport.
Wow, that sucks, man. Going to be captain also. Her first Olympics, no?
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's interesting. I mean, I think the Olympics, people forget, when you just get a big group of people from a lot of different countries together and try to get them to abide by one set of rules or whatever, there's always going to be this kind of things that pop up.
But they don't ban like sex or anything at the athletic village.
Yeah.
Right.
So why is that relevant? Why do you keep bringing that up?
Why keep bringing it up? When else have I brought up? Because I'm saying I think like what you were saying about, the cigarettes and alcohol, you can imagine like the authorities or like the games associations or sports associations, there's a direct effect. But they don't have equivalent for other things like say fooling around at the athletic village.
I don't know, maybe they have.
Maybe some countries.
Maybe they do, no sex during the tournament or things like that.
Maybe some countries like that.
There are some football managers who believe that, right? They impose that you cannot
be with your partners.
Be with your partners during
some
the
UFC
duration.
fighters also, right?
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I think they don't have any sexual activity before the fight or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this one, and I think they were like what you said, they were hoping for a games medal, right?
They're gunning for one.
Gunning for one.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
Difficult one.
So I mean, bit harsh, but yeah.
But yeah, so talking about happier things, what is your one Shiok comment of the season?
My one Shiok comment of the past few days is like from regular commenter Majestic Economist 6 on Reddit. Thank you for video podcasts on Spotify. So shout out to Tristan for starting to upload videos on Spotify. And the reason why we haven't uploaded before is because we didn't have access to that feature. So they go on to say, I listen to Yellowbot on Spotify, but when there's a guest or an extra interesting episode that I want to watch a video of, I will swap to YouTube for that episode. I'm so happy that you guys started uploading video podcasts to Spotify. Now I just need to go to one app, whether I want to listen while driving with a map or watching it as a video. Kudos, love you guys. So in case you haven't noticed, or in case you don't listen to us on Spotify, we upload our videos on Spotify now as well. So you can watch it on Spotify or YouTube.
Yeah.
So I think the good thing about Spotify is like when listening on audio version, you can turn on the video or you can turn off the video. Because if you don't have YouTube Premium, you can't listen while the app is closed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, correct. So actually, why do we upload them on Spotify?
Why?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like giving another option for people to listen on Spotify.
Yeah. Because I think some people have difficulty jumping between platforms, right?
Yeah. So if you're listening to us on Spotify, you didn't know we have video, but we, as of a few episodes ago, we started uploading video.
Yeah, correct.
So that's my one Shiok comment. What about you, man?
I think my one Shiok comment is from YouTube, where another sort of suggestion from Meow Meow P I971 saying, can Tristan help to share images or clips of videos or things you may bring up on your YouTube version of the podcast? Helps to visualize what you're referring to. Most of the time, I had to Google it on my phone. This time I was Googling about the blue and white slippers that we talked about. I've seen other podcasts on YouTube doing this, right? So yeah, I think that's a request of people saying, hey, can we put up pictures of stuff that we're actually referencing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tristan. No, I mean, but the truth is that it's an hour-long podcast and we talk about a lot of different things and references. The best place you can go is, I think, go to the links in the description. Click on them and read what's going on. I think it's, if you're listening to the podcast, means you are interested in what we're talking about already. So it is worth not just looking at the pictures, but also understanding a little more context about the articles that we read and all that. Because I think that really helps you understand why we talk about certain things certain ways. Sometimes people accuse us of parroting mainstream media coverage and all. But actually, my thing is that we're not necessarily parroting it, but we're trying to also understand it, react to it, and understand it. So I think that muscle of reading an article and then understanding it for yourself and then forming your own thoughts about it is something that we Singaporeans can and should do more of, right? Rather than just take whatever we read as canon, right?
Yeah.
And so we look at a lot of different sources. We try our best to look from, on the different ends of the political spectrum. But we even go to the nasty places like Hardware Zone and even Sammy Boy and all that to look at what people are saying, right? And that helps inform what we think as well.
Yeah. And I mean, a practical thing also is that if we want to go to insert images on a 1 hour podcast, it'll take longer for the podcast to come out.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Right. And I mean, part of like what what we try to do is get the podcast out as quickly as possible. So we're not saying no, but maybe like not yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, what about your one Shiok thing, man?
I gotta pull it up. You have yours?
Yes. So shout out to Straits Times because they have a kind of page out there that's titled Follow Team Singapore and More at Paris Olympics. And it's basically a single page where you can see all the Singaporean athletes that are going to be at the Olympics. You click on, you can understand their sport, when they are competing, their world ranking, Olympic qualification. And another tab on that page is the schedule. So yeah, I think like it's something super useful because like if I ask you, do you know how many athletes in Singaporean athletes are going to be in Olympics?
23.
Oh, you know? Oh, not bad.
I mean, I just read it right
23.
before the podcast. Yeah.
But yeah, like one thing is you don't want to miss when they're competing, right? I think all eyes will of course be on people like Shanti Pereira, Loh Kian Yew, but even on Gan Ching Wei, who was been in the news for a lot, and all the other amazing athletes. Yeah, so this page is quite cool, man. Yeah. And it allows you to know when they're going to be competing so you don't miss it. So that's my one Shiok thing.
Yeah.
You?
My one Shiok thing is a video on the channel that I've recommended before. There, I Ruined It. Where I think the channel that does like, they do say like, they cover like songs in the style of another singer. So they did like Jay-Z's 99 Problems in the style of Beach Boys.
Oh.
Yeah, I think I mentioned to you before. Then they do mashup. So quite interesting because a bit of a parallel to us, us being mentioned in Parliament recently. This particular channel, one of the AI mashups where he did a Johnny Cash mashup of Barbie Girl. Johnny Cash, the singer, singing Barbie Girl, right? Apparently they played it in Congress during a hearing about how AI is going to affect like the livelihoods of musicians and all these things.
Is it?
In Congress, they actually put up his song as an example of how terrible it is that
because
AI,
it's good, is it?
Because it's quite a realistic rendition of like what it sounds like Johnny Cash is singing Barbie Girl, right?
Yeah.
And I think they were playing it as a cautionary tale of like how AI could destroy the livelihoods of musicians, which actually runs counter to what this channel is about, because the channel is called There I Ruined It, which is about like shitty ways of singing songs, right? So, but this channel, it's quite interesting because then he produced a couple of videos just showing how he produces his songs, which is something I always thought about. Like, does he just use AI to produce a Johnny Cash voice and then just gets that voice to sing the song? No, actually, he doesn't. He actually has to sing the song, count the lyrics, everything, and sing the songs in his own voice. Then he uses a AI voice modulator to change the voice to sound more like Johnny Cash. So a lot of the intonation and how he pronounces words, he still has to follow how the artist actually did it. And that, I think requires a level of skill that not everyone has as well as a human skill. So I think it's quite interesting because, this happened in Congress, and then obviously what was played in Congress was a very gross oversimplification of what the whole process is.
As in, there's still an element of artistry.
Artistry and the human being involved and all. And I think what he's saying is that it's unfair for his song to be taken as an example of the horrors of AI, right? So he's been just produced this couple of videos, and I thought it was very interesting because he showed behind the scenes of how it's done, right? Like the process of doing this AI.
So did he get a lot of shit for it or something?
Shit for it, I don't know, but he got a lot of views. People looking for the song to listen to what the song actually is. So he got shouted in Congress. We got shouted in Parliament. It's been a month for content creators.
It's been a hot minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Cool. All right. So that's it for our midweek episode.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for listening, everybody. And remember, if you want to help our channel, if you want to see more of us, hear more of us, remember to follow us on social media, hit subscribe wherever you're listening to this, and leave us a rating on Spotify if you haven't.
Yeah. And to work with us, check out ministryoffunny.com. That's where you can contact us.
Hell yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everybody.